Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan and welcome once again to the vast and ominous comic book vault. It's time for yet another round of new acquisitions. New acquisitions? Again? Didn't we just do this like 2 days ago? Yes we did, but I had to play catch up from a couple of weeks, and so it's time to review the books that came out yesterday, and I've got 5 brand new books for you, and we're going to kick it all off right now with Minimum Carnage Alpha. This is a one-shot, kicking off this little mini-event, Minimum Carnage. Minimum Carnage, of course, is kind of a play on words making fun of Maximum Carnage from the mid-90s, which was a big, giant, fun, 12-issue, overblown, epic kind of thing. That's my kind of Spider-Man. I really love it. I know some people don't love it as much as me, but Maximum Carnage is absolutely one of my favorite stories, and so it's really fun to see them coming back and doing Minimum Carnage. I also think it's clever that it's half as long as Maximum Carnage was, because that was 12 issues. This is only 6. This is starting with Alpha. There is going to be an Omega, so it's another one of those books with an Alpha and Omega bookending it, and then in between it, we're going to have 2 Venom issues and 2 Scarlet Spider issues. I thought this was only 3 issues originally, because that's what I was seeing in all the ads, was just they were just soliciting those first 3 issues, but it's apparently actually 6, so this is going to be expanded a little bit, and so far so good. It covers a decent amount of ground, a lot more than both of the Carnage minis that we've had over the last few months, with the minis that Clinton Crane was doing, that first Carnage miniseries. I don't even remember exactly what that was called. It was the one with Spider-Man and Iron Man. I just said Carnage on it, but I think it had a different title. And then there was a second one after that, which I really didn't care for. But what I'm really enjoying about this is, well, first of all, just the artwork. We've got Medina back here drawing Venom again, of course, with also Scarlet Spider and Carnage. And hey, Carnage is drawn like he was drawn in the 90s. I can see what's going on again. This is just basic, fun comic book art. You can kind of see what's going on, and we actually get a Carnage fight in this. I know that sounds silly. You would kind of expect that, but the 2 big reasons I didn't. The first is because it's the first issue of 6, and lately the Carnage stories have been really kind of slow in getting going. And B, Carnage has been just this big giant blob with a lot of tentacles flying everywhere, but he hasn't looked like this in a while. For more than just some token, panels. And this is a really fun story. It's written by Cullen Bunn and Chris Yost. I keep wanting to call him David Yost, but that's the Blue Ranger from from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. No, it's Chris Yost and Cullen Bunn, and I think that they have some really good voices for both Venom and Scarlet Spider. I haven't been reading the Scarlet Spider book. This is kind of making me want to. I'm really kind of enjoying his tendency to do heroic things but insist that he's not a superhero, I guess, so that he has the option to kill when he wants to, and yet he seems like he has kind of noble sensibilities but is kind of fighting those, and it's kind of the opposite of Spider-Man, where it's easier to embrace your dark side, and so Peter Parker sometimes has to deal with he wants to do this bad thing, but he really has to try to do this better thing, and it seems like it's kind of opposite of that with this character, where he has more. I mean, he's Kane after all. Kane used to be a supervillain, so he has kind of these more darker tendencies. But deep down, he's really more of this kind of noble sort of creature. It's called Minimum Carnage because Carnage, of course, shrinks himself down and is. I don't want to give away the big plot that we get at the end of this because I really want people to read it. I actually think it's kind of fun, but let's just say that he's dealing with a civilization of really, really tiny people, and that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to tell you any more than that. If you like Venom and Carnage, read this. I think it's quite good, and I'm looking forward to seeing more from it. Finally, the end of Avengers vs. X-Men. Here's AVX Round 12. This is a $5 issue because it's a lot thicker. I really enjoyed that this last issue really got to take its time, and that it didn't feel like a quick 5-minute wrap-up like I sort of maybe would have expected. But this has been kind of long, and a lot of people have complain that maybe it didn't need 12 issues to tell the story it's telling. I've said this before, I can kind of see that, but I still have really enjoyed this, and I've really enjoyed it, you know, kind of taking its time, so I don't mind that. Is the story itself really worth the 12 issues? I'm not sure, but again, I've really enjoyed all the details. I can't really give away anything in this book. The ending is not really what I expected, and I found it personally very satisfying. I'm sure some people won't really care for it, especially with what's going on with Cyclops. I have mixed emotions about where Cyclops is at the end of this, and it'll be really interesting to see what happens with him during Marvel Now. The artwork is absolutely breathtaking in this. Jason Aaron does a fantastic job, and I'm really glad that he got a chance to write this last issue. I don't remember if he wrote the first issue. I think he did. I think he bookended this, but I'm not entirely sure. There's some linear storytelling some non-linear storytelling that got a little bit on my nerves here. It was kind of back and forth where this conversation from the past was influencing the present. It took a while to kind of get used to that, because most of this has been really linear storytelling. But that's okay. After a while, I kind of got why they were doing that. And this is you know, a lot of these events have a tendency to, at the beginning, for the creators to say this is going to change the face of the Marvel Universe. What I really love is that I didn't hear that as much with AVX. And we get to the end of this, and it really does. There really is a big, giant, major status quo change that isn't just going to go back to where it was in a couple weeks, a month, 6 months. And I can't. Again, I don't want to reveal what that is if you haven't had a chance to read this yet, but there really is something that happens at the end of this where I went, fantastic. I can't wait to see where it goes, and there's no way it's just going to suddenly change, because there's no reason for it to. It's absolutely great. I really enjoyed this. What I'm trying to decide is if I'm going to read the miniseries that is capping this off. They're doing this kind of epilogue thing that's going to be 5 issues over the next 5 weeks called AVX Consequences. And I'd like to know how necessary that is, because I have so many things in Marvel Now that I'm wanting to check out that I don't know if I want to have to, you know, spend another 5 issues worth of money to buy this book over 5 weeks. I mean, I will if it's really important, but I have a hard time knowing, and it seems like maybe a bit of a cash gouger. That might not be fair, because I haven't read it yet. It hasn't come out yet, but I'm like, really, you need another 5-issue miniseries to wrap up the 12-issue maxi series you just did? I'm not sure about that. I feel like, I'm afraid this is going to become the norm, because this happened with Fear Itself, where we finished up Fear Itself, and then Fear Itself was, what, 5 issues, 6 issues, and then it was Fear Itself, whatever the last issue was, point 1, point 2, point 3, and they felt like they needed 3 issues to wrap up their 5, 6-issue miniseries. I don't really care for that. I hope that's not where Marvel's events go from now on. If they can, I'm sure their thought is, if they can make it seem really necessary, they can convince their readers to spend an extra 10, 15, 20 bucks on this series that they thought they were only going to have to spend 6 or 12 issues worth of money for. Anyway, I'm not real keen on the fact that they're doing that, but I haven't read it yet, so it might seem necessary when it's over. I don't know. Next up, Action Comics number 13. The Return of Crypto the Superdog. Hey, this was great. This was epic. I really enjoyed this. Grant Morrison has this tendency to go back to old stuff, you know, Silver Age things, sometimes even Golden Age things, bring things back in, and they're always quirky and fun, and he never tries to, like, really deep serious it up, but at the same time, well, I don't want to use the word deep. Grant Morrison stuff can be deep. What I mean is, he doesn't seem to have to darken everything up. He doesn't have to bring it back in and go, this is the really serious version of this. He likes to sometimes keep some of the camp in it while still telling really engaging stories that can be really touching. This is one of those. Crypto the Superdog is back, and it's a very touching story. And it makes Crypto make more sense than I think he ever has before. I really like this idea that Crypto was Kal-El's puppy dog, and that there's a backup feature with the ghost of Crypto the Superdog that's really, really heartwarming, and I really love it. We saw, this is also a great bit of continuity, we saw Crypto the Superdog very briefly in one of the early issues of Action Comics here, and we saw him, I thought he died, and I remember even when I reviewed it going, is he dead? What happened? And he actually got sucked into the fortress, he actually got sucked into the Phantom Zone, and here we get this, the first villain that was ever thrown into the Phantom Zone, the first Kryptonian, trying to suck Superman into it, and the artwork is really great. It's really kind of unusual looking because there's so many. It's white and blue. The whole book is really white and blue because of the Phantom Zone, and it's kind of a depiction of the Phantom Zone I haven't seen before. I really enjoyed it, and I really like everything about this book. Yeah, this is my favorite issue of this for a while, and also there's a really cool way that he brings in an old DC Comics character. I don't want to tell you who it is. That he relates to the Phantom Zone. And I never would have even put those two things together, and it's really cool the way that he did it. Anyway, great issue. If you haven't been reading Action, I think this is an issue you definitely can read without having read the rest of this. But it is really fun because it calls back to a number of things that he did early on in this book, and it's really starting to kind of bring in some continuity. Next up, Daredevil End of Days #1. This is the first of an 8-issue limited series with a huge cast of major creators here. We've got Bendis and Mack writing this together with Klaus Janson doing pencils. Wow. Can we just move on? Can I just go by this and then let's go to the next one? No. Wow, this was fantastic. So I guess the idea of this book was a few years back, Marvel did this series of miniseries called The End. So you had different characters, and it was whoever such and such the end, and the idea was it was like the way that character dies and like the aftermath of it, I think, was sort of the idea of it. I haven't read any of those. This is apparently supposed to be that for Daredevil. I don't know why there's something doing this now, but it's really cool. So this is not a regular in-continuity story. It takes a lot of continuity stuff, and continuity up to this point really figures into it. But of course, this isn't continuitous because, spoiler alert, not really spoiler alert, look at the cover, but at the very beginning of this, Daredevil dies, and the whole book is about the aftermath of the death of Daredevil. And so our protagonist through this book is Ben Urich. And Bendis and Mack have such a wonderful voice for Ben Urich. Urich is a character that I've always really, really liked. I haven't read a ton with him, but the Daredevil stories that I've read with him, he's always been the character that I really kind of latch onto. And here, he's kind of struggling with the fact that Daredevil got brutally murdered by Bullseye, and Urich and Matt Murdock, of course, used to be really good friends, and then at some point, for a very good reason that I won't reveal, Daredevil kind of stopped talking to him, and it was kind of for his own good. And Urich has always kind of been battling that because he liked being his friend, but the way he puts it is Matt Murdock was his best friend, but obviously he wasn't Matt Murdock's best friend, and that always kind of bothered him. And so now, with all of these terrible apocalyptic things that are kind of happening, we see the death of Daredevil at the hands of Bullseye. He brutally murders him in the street, and it gets on tape, and it's on the news, and it keeps getting played over and over and over again. And this is apparently kind of the first time out of these kind of superhero murders that people actually kind of got to see it, and it really bothers people. And because of the nature of the internet and the death of print media and that sort of thing, we're seeing that the Daily Bugle is all but completely gone, and there's no readers left. And Ben Urich is writing the story anyway. And what I found most fascinating about this was Bendis and Mack's attention to details about the writing process. Of course, I being a writer, I really catch on to these sorts of things, and I really latched onto this. We get to see him writing his story while we're looking at these events in flashback, both the death of Daredevil and some things dealing with the Kingpin that I won't reveal, where he keeps editing himself while he's writing, and he'll be like, he'll use a word, and then that we'll see in a narration box, and then we'll get another narration box that's outside of the writing that he's doing, that's an inner monologue, where he'll say, no, don't use that word, it's too contrived, it's too trite, or really, that was a double negative, or something like that. And I really enjoyed those kind of details. This art took a little bit of getting used to. It reminded me a lot of some early 2000s Daredevil art, where it was a little bit more abstract. Some of the flashbacks are kind of drawn differently than other things, and so some of it feels, I don't even want to say abstract. I mean, like, you can tell what's going on, but there's like some fuzzy bits. There's some really weird colorations and things, and then there are other places that are played a lot more straight. This, of course, doesn't look anything like the current Daredevil book, and it's very rough and gritty and muddled, and because it's in the middle of Hell's Kitchen, and so it's not my favorite kind of artwork to look at, but it goes along really well with the story, so it makes a lot of sense. It took me 2 or 3 pages to really get into this until I realized what it was, and then I was absolutely riveted. This is a $4 book. I don't know if it actually is any longer than a normal book, but it feels it. It took a little bit longer to read than a normal book, and I felt like it's a lot of bang for your buck. This is one of the best times to be a Daredevil fan right now, man. I mean, we got the regular monthly right now that can do no wrong, and then it's been fantastic, and now we got 2 really good Daredevil stories running congruently. So check out Daredevil End of Days. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Finally, we're going to start a new thing starting this week that I'm hopefully going to do every week. Some weeks when I have a lot of books on my pull, when I've got 5, 6, 7 things to review, I may not do this. But on weeks like this where I didn't have quite as many, I'm going to do a book that I wouldn't usually buy, that I let my son pick out. My little son Jason, he's 2 right now. He always comes with me to the comic book store. He loves going to the comic book store. It's his favorite thing. And I let him pick out a comic book. And what I do is I take him up to the new issues, and I let him kind of scan them a little bit, and then I tell him to pick one. And this week he chose a #1. He chose Batman Legends of the Dark Knight #1. And actually, I said Batman. It's just called Legends of the Dark Knight #1. And this is written by a number of different, drawn by a number of different people. The idea here is, I guess this is going to come out monthly, and the idea here is it's 3 very short stories written by different creative teams, and this issue, and I don't know if they're all going to do this, but this issue kind of felt like it had sort of a theme, really, between the 3 stories, which I really liked, which is Batman's lack of superpowers and being just a mortal man, and the advantages and disadvantages that has. One story is very much about whether or not Batman has a weakness, because he's not... Bruce Wayne keeps trying to say that he has no vulnerability, and it's about whether or not Batman has a vulnerability and what that vulnerability is. That story is written by Damon Lindelof, of all people. I don't know if Lindelof has written comics before, but I thought that story was really, really cool. And again, I'm not going to give away what happens in it, but what happens at the end. But it's basically Bruce Wayne telling Alfred that he has that he has no weakness, and then it explores whether or not that's true. Then there's a story with Batman versus Amazo, where Batman again is dealing with not having superpowers and having to take out Amazo by himself, and how he's able to do that. And then this last story didn't really hit me as well as the other 2, but it's okay. It's Batman and Robin trying to prevent a guy from becoming a villain, trying to prevent a guy from becoming a criminal, which is interesting, but I don't think was quite as good as the first 2 stories. And one thing I did kind of wonder was who was in the Robin costume, because it's not Damian, and it looked like the Tim Drake costume, but we've been told recently that Tim Drake was always Red Robin and wasn't really Robin, so I wondered about it. But honestly, going through this, there were several key panels where you could kind of tell that this isn't really New 52. This whole thing kind of felt like just old school DC continuity. I guess it's just people get to write whatever stories they want to write. We don't even have the New 52 Batman costume in this. at all. So it's just stories that whoever comes on this that month in 5, 6, 8 pages, you know, wants to write. I really enjoyed that, and if you like these kind of one-shot stories, it's absolutely the book for you. I don't think I'm going to get it every month, but but try this first issue out if you're anchoring for some Batman that isn't New 52 Batman. Anyway, that's all I have for you this week. Thanks a lot for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If there's anything you ever want to send me to review on the Comic Book Vault, either to borrow or something you want to donate to the vault, you can always send that to Geekvolution, P.O. Box 14183, Lenexa, Kansas 66285. Thanks as always for watching. I'm Captain Logan, and happy reading.